Hey, speaking of painful ones, hey, what's going on? It's Wednesday. It's Wednesday afternoon. It's about 2 o'clock. Um, I don't know what was painful there coming on the air. I don't remember what we were talking about, but we'll move on. I'll tell you what's painful is my grass was green this morning, right? And now it's all white. My whole yard is white. My trees are white. I don't love winter. Like I'll take snow for like that week around Christmas, right? Like we're
Yeah.
getting there where snow's acceptable for like maybe 12 days, and that's about it. I'll give it maybe 2 weeks. Anyway, hey guys, welcome to the show. It's a sports show with no name. I'm your host. I'm Chad. I've got Ben with me as always. And look in the middle of the screen. It's Nick from Come On Ref. You remember Nick? We keep saying we're going to have him back on the show, and time goes so fast, man. And all of a sudden, it's like next Tuesday. And I'm like, well, now it's too late to do. But you're here, man. You're here with us. Nick, how have you been, man?
I've been good. Been good. Been a lot of really interesting stuff in sports been going on the past couple months. This time of year is a really just great sports time with all the MLB offseason stuff going on with college football, NBA's in full swing, NFL obviously. So just been
Yeah.
watching a lot of sports, been working, just you know, same
Keeping
old
your
stuff.
plate full, right, man?
Yeah.
hmm
Keeping your plate full. Speaking of keeping your plate full, we had the Thanksgiving episode kind of last week. We got into it a little bit. We talked about. I just want to ask you, like, what's your favorite? It doesn't have to be a main dish or a side dish. I'm into food right now this time of year. This is what I do. This time, you got to stay warm, right? You need a little insulation. So I just think about food a lot. Maybe that's my problem. But what's your favorite thing to eat at Thanksgiving? Like I said, it doesn't have to be. It could be a dessert. It could be whatever. Just what do you look forward to the most?
I know this. I don't know if because this isn't technically like I know for some people they don't eat this on Thanksgiving. It's not
Okay.
really a Thanksgiving thing for some people,
Okay.
but my dad makes amazing homemade mac and cheese, so
Okay.
I
Yeah.
I always look forward to that. Anytime he makes it, anytime we have a big any sort of family dinner type thing like for a holiday or party or something like that, he always brings out his homemade mac and cheese, and it's the
For sure.
best.
Yeah,
Hey,
good homemade mac and cheese is really good. Yeah, I
you
mean,
can
I
never
agree
go
with
wrong
you
with
there.
mac and cheese.
Yeah,
No, never. It's hard to
Never.
mess it up, but my dad, it's the best mac and cheese I've ever had, probably. So,
that's awesome. That sounds really good. We just actually had this discussion if mac and cheese belongs. And I think who cares? Like who's the gatekeeper of what belongs and what doesn't belong, right?
Right.
Like
yeah,
whatever you do,
yeah.
it belongs. I mean, it's fine. But yeah, mac and cheese, homemade mac and cheese is good. Well, hey, we've got a pretty good show. I don't know if it's as good as homemade mac and cheese, but I guess you can watch for the next 50 minutes or so, and you can let us know. Um, anyway, yeah, I just want to get into I guess some of the stuff, man. First of all, it's exactly 14 days until Christmas. I hope everybody's got their list out to Santa. Speaking of that, the episode today is named Jolly Old Saint Nick. A little bit of wordplay, not too advanced. We got Nick on the show, and we're jolly, and I'm old, and I don't know who's the saint. I'm not sure where that came in, but we'll work on that later. Um, and yeah, I mean, Nick is our present to you today. So there you go. Christmas. Merry Christmas. How about that? First off, headlines. I mean, it's going to be half the show is headlines because there's a lot to get into. I wanted to start with last weekend wrapped up the high school football season here in Ohio, and a lot of interesting things happened in 7 state championship games. I guess we can just kind of start running down. Like, did you guys get to watch any of the games at all? Or did you hear about anything that went on? First of all, Nick, like, did you watch any of these? Do you have Spectrum? I watched a lot of them on
Oh,
Spectrum One.
I did not watch any of the games, but my mom had the radio broadcast of the Avon game
Okay,
pulled up
yeah.
because they're local to us. So I have some friends who went to Avon, so
Hmm.
know a lot of people there, and they've had some really great teams the past couple of years, but they never won that state championship. They in
Yeah,
the past they couldn't really get past Hoban, and they were able to get past them this year and then win the
yeah.
state championship. So that was the only game I really kept up with while it was going on. But
Gotcha. Okay.
there was that one, but I was seeing a lot of things on Twitter or X now, I guess,
Mhm.
about the Marion local game that was
Dude,
60-0 at halftime as well. So
Yeah.
those are the two games I was seeing a lot about.
Yeah, there's a lot
that's
to say about both those teams. Yeah, Avon won their first state title, like you said. They finished 16-0. What a season! They had a really good quarterback. I can't think his name escapes me right now.
No one good. No one
There you
good.
go. Yes, yes.
He's a good
Yeah,
quarterback.
good quarterback. Good was good. Yeah, I mean, good is good. What a great season they had. So congratulations to them, obviously. The D1 game, I meant to watch this one, but I didn't watch it. Olentangy Liberty took down Moeller 28-14. I'm always surprised when a team like Moeller loses. But yeah, I mean, Liberty has a really good quarterback as well. They won their first state title in their school history. So as far as the big, and by the way, that Avon game that you mentioned, that was played Friday night, and that was like a really, really cold, snowy field. I mean, it was like a frigid night that night, if you guys remember. But that was a pretty good game. Avon winning at 20-13. That's about as entertaining as you want. We will get to some games that probably weren't as entertaining down this list. But
dude, my dad sent me a crazy stat there about the Marion local game before we move on.
Okay.
At one point, Hillsdale had 41 yards passing and 5 completions. Marion local had 144 yards off Hillsdale's passes on 4 interception returns.
Oh my gosh, man! How does it? That's not. We'll get to that. Anyway, the D3 game, Division III, Columbus Bishop Watterson beat Toledo Central Catholic 19-14. That was Watterson's first state title. So a lot of teams going down to Columbus going down to Canton, winning their. I'm so used to saying Columbus, heading to Canton, winning their first state title in the school history. That's kind of cool. Another school, Nadden Hutton, Indian Valley. They beat Sandusky Perkins, and maybe the most entertaining game of the weekend. 37-36, they took down Perkins. That was a fun game to watch. That was their first state title as well. And then in Division V, Ironton won their first, modern state. Well, modern. I shouldn't say that because I was alive when they won their first 2. So let's not say that. We don't want to do that. They won their third state title. They beat Liberty Center 28-17. And then Division 6 and 7 was the MAC show. I mean, as it always is. Coldwater absolutely dominated Kirtland. I watched that game and I was really surprised. I thought Coldwater would win, but I didn't think. I mean, they completely snuffed Kirtland out. And Kirtland has, I don't know if you know, like Kirtland has size everywhere this year, man.
Yeah, they always do though. They always.
Yeah, you're right.
Because they've been pretty much the powerhouse in that division for a while, and
yeah.
Because I remember though, we played them in baseball playoffs my senior year of high school.
Okay.
And they had all football players out there, and they're all huge. We looked at this team, like, this is a football team on a baseball field. They're all really big dudes, and so
yeah.
For a small school, it's insane how many big guys they have.
It surprised me. I covered in person. They went to Solon and played Solon a few years back. It was during COVID. And I was there, and both teams ran out right beside me. And I was like really taken aback by how Kirtland matched up size-wise, not numbers-wise, because Solon had like 500 guys on the sidelines in uniform. But Kirtland matched up pretty well size-wise with Solon. And I was like, this is bizarre to me. It was really weird. I was on Solon's sideline for most of the night, and they just didn't seem that big. And then, like I said, Kirtland jogs by me, and I'm like, what is happening? This is a Division V school. Like, where do these kids come from? And it's funny how they use, like, they put their biggest players at the skill positions. I mean, their quarterback is like 6'2", 190. They got a running back, like I think 6 foot 210 or whatever. Just size everywhere. It must be a nightmare. But Coldwater handled them just fine, beating them 31-7. That was Coldwater's 8th state title, all since 2005. So they are obviously, I guess, a powerhouse of recent times here. But that whole area, I mean, you guys know about the MAC. The MAC is probably the best football in the state of Ohio, pound for pound. You probably see 4 or 5 teams that are worthy of heading at least to the regional semis or regional finals by the time you even get out of your own league. So obviously, I think that prepares you for the playoffs. And then the D7 game. I think Marion Local scored another touchdown just now. I don't know. That 74-0 is wild. I've seen a lot of people say some things online about Marion Local and about how they need to move up a couple of divisions. And I've seen people accuse them of cheating, of skewing the numbers because they deny. Unbelievable that we've got people online, public forum, ripping high school kids for being successful. Nick, have you seen any of that? I mean,
I saw some people just saying like, yeah, it's unfair and stuff. But I mean, I feel it makes sense. I mean, it makes sense for them to be in that division. The numbers are they really. It's a small town. They don't have that many people. So
it's not based off. It's not like it's like college. It's not based off how good you are. It's based off like the population of where your school's at.
Yeah. I mean, so, I saw some stat where over like almost like 75%. It was some ridiculous number of the boys in that school play football. So they. Yeah. I think it's just kind of the tradition in that town is you grow up, you play football, and then you win.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, you look at it. I mean, it's kind of like it's almost. I mean, like there's not really much you can do at it too, because like you got to play your conference games. Like you got to play everybody in your conference.
Yep.
And it's like the only thing you can hope that they start doing is maybe go out and scheduling like Division III, Division IV teams.
Well, they played my high school a couple of years ago. They played Walpock. Yeah. That's a Division III school, and they beat Walpock. They beat them 29-26. I think it was a good game.
it's not like you can force them to do that though. So if they don't want to do it, they don't have to. So it's like it's like you can't.
I've seen a lot of complaints in recent years about Glenville being in D4 and stuff like that, and like those I feel like are more like that's a different situation because where do you want to drop down because they split their enrollment up in between Glenville and Ginn Academy and all that stuff, and they can they've handpicked some kids sometimes to come to that school. That's a much different situation where I feel like the complaints are more valid than this situation where it's just a small town that just breeds football. Like, different situation.
Yeah, Maria Stein is no one's going to Maria Stein on like they're not recruiting guys from like Columbus and Cleveland and Toledo and hiding them in Maria Stein. Like that's not happening. It's tiny. I've been there.
Wait, it's not.
It's not happening. Just all the accusations like, oh, they win so much they must be cheating. Like that bothers me, man. That's where we go. You know, with
that's
high school.
How you know. Hey, that's how you know you're good though, when you win so much.
Yeah,
people think you're cheating. So
that's true. I've got some numbers on this. By the way, that state title was their 64th straight victory.
Fun little fact for you.
Is it fun? Are you sure it's fun? It better be fun.
Well, it might be. But
all right, let's see.
It was their 64th straight win. So their seniors finished their career 64-0. Never lost.
Nope.
Out of those 64 wins, 33 of them were shutouts.
34 of them were shutouts.
Yeah.
You were right the first time. Yeah, 34 were shutouts.
That's
listen to this. They also allowed 30-plus points one time over the streak. They've allowed 20-plus points 4 times and 10-plus points just 9 times over those 64 games. That's unbelievable. They've averaged 32.8 points per game and given up 4.3 points per game during that streak.
Wow.
That's domination. They also joined actually a really, really select group. That's their 4th straight state title. It's the 2nd time they've done it, but it's the 6th time. So 5 schools have done it 6 times in the state of Ohio. Newark Catholic did it back in the 80s from 84 to 87. Cleveland St. Ignatius won 5 straight, actually, from 91 to 95. Marion Local did it from 2011 to 2014. Coldwater got in on the mix. So you got the same 2 teams from the same conference winning 4 straight state titles at pretty much the same time. They did it from 2012 to 2015. Hoban did it from 2015 to 2018. And then this year's Marion Local team, their seniors did it. Can you imagine going through your whole high school career and not having any idea what it's like to lose a football game?
That's great.
I wonder, like,
awesome.
How many kids from Marion Local go on to play like Division I football? You think any?
They've had 2 since 2012, 2010, when this whole thing kind of started like really picking up steam.
Did they pan out to do anything or?
I mean, one guy went to Notre Dame. I think another guy went to I can't remember. I can't remember where the second guy went. But no, not huge careers. No, they're just really fundamentally sound. They're probably a little bit bigger than a lot of teams in their division. It's a farm town, you know. It's a German farm town. There's just really good athletic genetics there, right? Athletic genes in that town, and they're just
got those big country O linemen. Those are the best type O linemen, honestly.
Yeah, and if you ever watch Marion Local, they just don't make mistakes. I mean, they don't do it. They're so fundamentally sound. I think about how the youth program must line up with, you know, the middle school program and how it just like, I don't know, from the time they start playing flag football. I mean, they're probably bailing hay at 5 years old in Marion Local and learning how to play football, you know, the Tim Goodwin way or whatever. So it's really impressive. Congratulations to them. That's amazing. Congratulations to all the state champions. Yeah, I mean, overall, since 2000, another number for you. Marion Local has appeared in 18 state title games, winning 15 times. Wow. Yeah, that's pretty impressive. So, like I said, congratulations to all the state champions.
That's crazy.
It is crazy. You know what else is crazy? What else is crazy is Juan Soto signing with the Mets for the league minimum of, what does this say, 15 years, $765 million. Maybe it's not the league minimum. Nick, let me ask you a question. 15 years, $765 million. It's like $180,000 a game. Is any player worth that kind of investment?
This is tough because I would say like Shohei Ohtani, in my opinion, is undoubtedly worth his investment because he brings the marketing side of it, the pitching and the hitting. Like, I think he is worth that investment, no doubt.
Yeah. Okay.
Juan Soto, it's tough because he's not the best player in base. He's top 3, top 5, I would say. Top 5 for sure. I'd say he's probably number 3 right now behind Ohtani and Judge in baseball.
Okay.
I think and he's only 26 years old. We've never really the closest type of free agent we've seen to Juan Soto is A-Rod, and A-Rod's contract when he signed at that time was kind of like Juan Soto now because back then the money was so different. At that time, he had by far the richest contract in baseball history.
10 years, 250 million or whatever. Yeah,
it's really just a unique situation here with Juan Soto. And I'm all for paying the players what they're worth because that's what the fans show up for, anyways. So. Sure. I would say, yeah, he is worth this investment, but also when you're paying a guy $51 million a season and that type of money, it is like it's hard. It makes it hard to honestly sometimes to build the rest of the roster out too.
Yeah,
and that's just so much money. It's hard to believe that this is what the athletes are getting paid now these days. Yeah. But if Juan Soto, I think he's worth it. I do think he's worth this investment.
He's an on-base machine. I mean,
the most comparable player to him is Ted Williams. Like. He gets on base at a rate we've never, besides steroided out Barry Bonds, no player has ever gotten him on base at this rate before.
Yeah, he's the active leader in Major League Baseball right now. He's kind of by far.
Longest contract in baseball history for 15 years, but he's only 26, so it's ages 26 through 40, and it's realistic to probably say he could play till 40. That's around the time a lot of guys end up hanging it up. Yeah. Might he be on a severe decline the last couple of years of the deal? Possibly, but if you get a good 10 years out of it, if he plays like he's been playing the last couple of years for the next 10 years, I think it's worth it for the Mets.
If they win 2 or 3 World Series, I think in that first 10 years, I think the last 5 years become a moot point. It doesn't matter.
I think you just got to win one. Get one title out there for a franchise that hasn't won in almost 40 years now.
Yeah.
One title, I think, would be enough to validate it for the Mets. And also him just continuing to be the player that he has been. And, the Mets have never had an MVP winner in their franchise's history.
That's wild, isn't it?
Juan Soto.
I think it's some of the names. Yeah, I mean, he has a legitimate shot. Yeah.
I think the crazy part of that contract is after 5 years, he's got an opt-out. He's got an opt-out clause after 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
But if he stays after those 5 years, his contract goes up to $805 million. He gets an extra $4 million raise per year. So the last 10 years of his contract.
You have to account for inflation, right? And living in New York City, I guess.
But like Nick said, I mean, people said it all last year, like, was Shohei really worth that contract if he was only going to hit, right? But, he's going to come back and pitch this year.
Yeah, you're paying for the future. That's fine. Yeah. I mean, they deferred all the money anyway, so they're obviously paying for the future.
Is he going to pitch?
With Shohei, too, though, it's the money with him is also the marketing, though. They could bring the entire Japanese market is now but watching Dodger games, invested in the Dodgers. They signed Yamamoto, too, so that's another they really have – the entire country of Japan, all eyes are on the Dodgers right now.
Did you see the TV numbers? I forget which. I think it was the clinching game of the World Series. I didn't mean to cut you off, but while we're thinking about it, the clinching game of the World Series, I forget, it was like some ridiculous percentage of Japan was watching whatever game, whatever time it was in there, like 6 a.m. Yeah, wild. Yeah, really wild. So, clearly worth the money there.
Yeah, that's the difference with the Shohei. Like Shohei, in my opinion, that contract's a steal. In my opinion, honestly, Shohei you could pay Shohei any amount of money to get him on your baseball team, and I would say it's worth it. Yeah. Soto too, though. It's just the eyes. It's not just the play on the field. It's the eyes that a superstar like that attracts to your team and the fan interest that it brings in.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
his personality is electric. Yeah.
Mets fans right now, their excitement level has never been higher. Probably not since 1986 has their excitement level been this high. And that's like most Mets fans, like most people aren't even old enough to see that at this point, see that first World Series championship. So just the fan interest, the excitement, the media coverage that comes with it, you also have to factor that in with these superstar contracts.
For sure.
And something about Mets fans is they've been right on the doorstep so many times. I mean, their excitement level was pretty high a couple years ago when they had Timmy Trumpet come into that series. He was literally live playing, their closer's walkout song against the Braves because they thought that was the weekend they were going to sweep the Braves and finally kill the Wicked Witch, right? And the Braves swept them and ended up winning the division. And it really backfired on them, man. It really backfired.
I think like Nick said, I think the biggest thing, well, going back to what Nick's point, the biggest thing he said was the eyes it brings to the Mets, right? Like you got these young superstars, like you said, Chad, with great personalities, right? Like you're wanting to grow the game of baseball and not just getting better talent and better players, but you're wanting to get more eyes on the game.
Yeah, these marketable guys. Yeah.
And with a guy like Soto in a big city of New York, like you're gonna get that attention.
And he's very polarizing. I feel like you either love Juan Soto or you kind of hate him, and that's okay.
And either way, it's like it's like those guys on, like sports talk shows that say these most outrageous takes. You either like him or you hate him. Either way, you're still watching him.
Yep.
So either way,
Stephen A. Smith just signed a record. He's the highest paid sports
Yeah.
analyst of all time.
like either way, it's like it's kind of like our love for Jose. Like
Yeah.
Cleveland fans would do anything for Jose, and I mean, yeah, he might not be the biggest name, but he's still a big name in baseball, and he draws so many eyes just in the city of Cleveland to baseball.
I mean, I'd say he's the top 15 player in baseball. I would put him there.
No, I would too. I'm not saying that he's not, but I'm just saying
but in a smaller market, I understand. Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, being in a smaller market, the attention. Like I saw a crazy stat that after he signed that huge extension, our attendance numbers have only gone up each year since he signed that extension.
There you go.
I mean, that's what superstars do, though. They bring up it's such a great thing for a fan base having those guys that you can connect with on the team and knowing that they're going to be there for a really long time. Look at part of the reason the Oakland A's attendance has been awful the past 20 years, even when they have good teams, is because they don't keep guys on the team. They don't have any identifiable superstars to go with, and that alone gets people to watch the game. When you recognize the faces out there, more people are going to keep watching.
Yeah, makes sense. You have to have dependability on and off the field as a franchise.
I've told Chad this story, Nick. I don't know if I told you, but I'd never gone to a single A game before in my life. Never been to one. Never had any desire to go to one. And then Stephen Kwan was making a rehab start down in Lake County, and I said, okay, I got to go to it. Like you said, there's notable names. I'm going down to single A to watch an all-star level left fielder play in single A.
Yeah.
Granted, he didn't play in the field; he DH'd, but still, that place was almost sold out just to watch Stephen Kwan at single
just
A.
to get a glimpse of a guy who does it at that level. You know, it's pretty cool.
And it was pretty cool.
It is pretty cool.
One thing to add too is in my opinion, maybe the biggest thing about this signing is just the precedent it sets in baseball.
Yeah,
and mainly in New York is what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
because forever the Yankees have been the big bad wolf. They've been the big brother to the Mets, and they've signed all the free agents. The Mets they've signed some big name free agents in their time, but nothing that compares anywhere close to the Yankees.
Yeah.
The big fish like this always end up either Yankees, and in New York it's the Yankees. Obviously Dodgers and other teams get the guys too. But the precedence that this sends in New York, that the Mets are now here, they will outbid the Yankees. This Juan Soto chose the Mets over the Yankees.
And he was there.
It's not even like he was just a free agent who had no connection to either team. He got a chance to play a year with the Yankees, see their tradition and all that stuff that everyone likes to talk about with the Yankees, and he chose to leave them to go to the Mets for only a $5 million difference in that base contract. Yeah. And Yankees fans are losing their mind right now. Well, they have never felt this before.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys have seen the reports, but apparently the Yankees didn't treat Juan Soto's family like
best. I was gonna bring that up. They also would not include a luxury suite in that deal either. The Mets did, so I don't know if that has anything to do with it. But
and two though, with the Yankees fans right now, they can't accept this though. They've never felt this rejection feeling. They've never felt like that the Mets can do this to them. And I think at this point, Yankees fans they're having to accept they're not the Death Star anymore. They're not the big bad wolf anymore.
No.
And in my opinion, the Dodgers are in baseball right now, but the Mets are on their way to becoming one. And Yankees fans don't know how to deal with it right now. I hate the Yankees, so I love seeing all this fan
me too.
going on online.
Hey, a lot of Braves fans are having trouble with it too. A lot of Braves fans do not want to see Juan Soto in the NL East. I mean, me included, but I don't really care. Listen, I love the competition. I love watching Soto play. I think it's going to be fun to watch him go. Man, he's one of the most electric players in baseball. I think it's a good contract. Like you said, if they win one World Series, I think it's worth it.
And I mean, just think about this. Think about how close. Granted, I mean, the Mets made the NLCS. I mean, you only won one game, but think about how close you were last year without Soto.
Yeah.
Now you add Soto.
They shouldn't have even been there. I mean, they were rallied
to be under 500 last year. They were and that whole run, in my opinion, is the biggest reason. Maybe besides, obviously, the money's the biggest reason. But if the Mets didn't go on that run last year, I don't know if the Mets are as attractive of a spot right now for Juan Soto.
I don't know if they even would have approached him the same way, Nick, if they wouldn't have gone on that run.
Hear me out. Like you said, if the Mets don't go on that run, I don't think they get Soto.
Yeah.
And I also think Soto goes to the Dodgers because Mookie Betts is moving back to shortstop.
Oh my
So you'd have an open spot in right field. You'd have a healthy Shohei coming off an injury to pitch. You'd have Shohei's bat. You'd have Soto's bat. You'd have Freeman. You'd have Betts. You'd have all those guys.
The Dodgers 14, like almost like 14 elite level starting pitchers on their staff. I don't know what they're going to do with all these guys.
I mean, it sounded like the Dodgers didn't really make a extremely serious run at Soto.
I don't think
they have so much money tied up right now too.
Yeah.
But if he would have went to the Dodgers, I think the whole baseball world would have just.
Oh, I'm sure if he would have shown any interest, they definitely would have made it happen. They would have made it work.
And I mean, I don't know if you guys.
They would have won 140 games.
Yeah. I mean, Nick, going back to what you said about just one last thing before we move on. Going back to what you said about the Yankees not being the big bad wolf. I don't know if you saw what the Mets owner said. He said he's no longer afraid to outbid the Yankees.
All right.
I mean, they got the richest owner. They're going to be able to. They can outbid anybody. They can outbid.
He's a billionaire. He's a multi-billionaire.
Yeah, he said he's not afraid to start outbidding teams now that he said he's seen what the Dodgers are doing, and he said he's now no longer afraid to start just throwing cash at players.
Fun. All right. Well, I don't know. I mean, hey, you can't be mad at the Mets for playing the game. Major League Baseball lets them play. A lot of people are really upset with the Mets because they just threw money at them. Well, I mean, they've got the money and they're allowed to do it. I mean, who cares?
People get mad, when these teams create all
these.
People
are mad at high school kids for winning state championships, Ben. Dude, I mean, people get mad for everything.
People say, Ben, you're not mad about it. No, I like watching good baseball. Who doesn't like watching good baseball?
You know how fun these Braves Mets battles are going to be now? Like when they're both fully healthy, it's going to be fun.
My thing with this free agency is I wanted him to leave the Yankees because again I hate the Yankees, and anytime they can take a step down and anytime those fans get humbled too, I just love it.
Yeah.
I think him on the Mets was the best case scenario. I think Boston would have been fun too. I think Mets or Boston is where I wanted.
Boston's kind of a boring team to me though.
Yeah, because they haven't really done much in recent years.
No, but
there was fun with the whole Manny Ramirez and Tito years. That was fun. Johnny Dane, all that.
They haven't spent money in years. They haven't spent huge money in a long time, and that's why their fans are very much kind of they're not feeling great right now.
Yeah, Boston smells like mothballs to me right now. It's like stale. I don't know.
Could you imagine Soto's numbers in Fenway Park though?
Probably would have been crazy.
That short wall and right, and even if he wants to go oppo.
Yeah, he just would have banged him off the monster or hit it past Pesky's ball.
Dude,
whatever, that's fine.
His numbers in Fenway might have been historic.
Oh my gosh, man!
He'll do
fine, and he'll do fine.
No, but it would have been like Judge in New York.
Right.
I saw crazy stats about Judge's homers last year, and only 30 of his homers would have been homers in other parks that weren't Yankee Stadium.
That's wild. That's wild. It's hard to turn that down. Hey, listen, Yankees fans can't feel too bad. They got Max Fried, right?
Fried,
8 years, $218 million. I think it's a great signing as long as Fried can stay healthy.
I agree.
His biggest problem is like the last couple of years for the Braves, he's made 12 to 14 starts when it really matters, and he's just not there down the stretch. And then it seems like during the playoffs, he comes out and you really need him for a pivotal, maybe a must-win game, but he's coming off of some injury and he gets banged around in the playoffs. It makes him look like he's not clutch. He's more clutch than that. He's a good pitcher. He's a great pitcher.
Yeah.
It's just he's got to stay healthy, man. I'm happy for him. He wasn't going to get that kind of money in Atlanta, so I'm happy for him. It's sad to see him go, but I can't be mad at the guy for. I mean, do what you do, man. I mean, how can you get mad at these guys for this?
Yeah.
So yeah, what do you think, Ben? I'll ask you first. 8 years, $218 million. Is that a good signing? Who wins that? Max Fried, the Yankees, nobody, the Braves. Who won that?
I think it goes back to what you said. If he stays healthy, I think the Yankees win that deal.
It almost seems like kind of a steal if he's healthy for that.
Yeah.
That kind of
if he can't stay healthy, I mean, it's going to sound wrong, but I think Max Fried wins that because you're sitting there to be injured and making $218 million.
Yeah, I mean,
and
I'm sure he wants to compete. We're not trying to say anything about his personality.
No, but like you said, I think you posted on Facebook, he's only made 12 to 14 starts the last 3 years, right? If you're only getting 12 to 14 starts out of a guy that you're paying $218 million,
that's a sound financial decision for him, right? Yeah.
I mean, it's not
part of the reason the Yankees were so aggressive in the starting pitching market is because Garrett Cole's injury last year, and I've heard that they're kind of worried about his future because he had to go see a specialist to deal with his injury right now, and so now they have 3 starting pitchers on massive contracts with Garrett Cole, Carlos Rodon, and Max Fried. I mean, that's a great top three of the rotation, no doubt, but you need those guys. They're all going to be in their 30s as well.
Yeah.
So they need those guys to stay healthy, but if they do, it's one of the best rotations in baseball.
Oh, it's scary.
And I think, again, I saw, I was watching a lot of Yankees fans' reactions after they lost Soto, and they were saying that they wanted their team to go all in on the pitchers after losing Soto because there really isn't any bats out there that can replace Juan Soto right now. So it's better to go after the next best thing, which is the starting pitching market. And they did just that with Max Fried, and signing him allows them to now they have a lot of depth in that rotation. Now they have American League Rookie of the Year, Luis Gil, Nestor Cortez, Marcus Stroman still there. I heard they're trying to salary dump him somewhere. So they have a lot of depth in the rotation, and they can now use one of those guys to trade for a bat because their rotation looks great. It looks great. But that lineup outside of Judge, Jazz, and Stanton is bad. It's a bad lineup outside of those three guys.
Doesn't Stroman feel like he'd be a fit in Atlanta a little bit? Like if he can get on track, I mean,
he can fit anywhere really. I mean, he's just solid.
Yeah.
He's just a solid all-around pitcher, good ground ball guy, but he struggled toward the end of the year, and he's a little overpaid right now, making about $20 million next year.
Yeah, it's a tough contract for what he's done lately. Yeah.
So I heard they're thinking about salary dumping him just on any team that's willing to take on salary. But I love this move for the Yankees. I do. It's the next best thing you can do after losing. Obviously, like losing Juan Soto is the biggest hurt, and you can't really recover from that this offseason.
Yeah.
The only way they can recover is the Kyle Tucker rumors going on right now. If they get Kyle Tucker, then I think they're even in an even better spot than they were with Soto because you get Fried and Tucker, and you can they're rumored for Christian Walker. So if they can pull that off, I think the Yankees are in a good situation.
Rumored for Nolan Arenado too.
Move. Yeah, I mean it's just a good move for the Yankees. They had to do something after losing Soto. They had to do something. And
well, it makes you feel a little better when you can run the top ERA guy out since 2021.
They have the top two. They have the top two now. Garrett Cole and Max Fried have the two best ERAs in baseball the past, I think, 4 or 5 seasons.
That's pretty wild.
So they got a really good rotation. Just need to do something in that lineup to compete.
Speaking of
that lineup is bad.
Yeah, speaking of fixing that lineup, Nolan Arenado said there's 5 teams he'll waive his no trade clause for: the Yankees, the Angels, the Giants, the Dodgers, and there's one more.
I think it was. Did you say the Angels?
Savannah Bananas, maybe?
I did. Yeah.
Okay.
And but the Mets, or not the Mets, the Giants just signed Willy Adames to play shortstop.
Yes.
And Matt Chapman said he was willing to play shortstop, but then Willy Adames came out and said that he's willing to play second base.
I was really hoping he would end up in Atlanta. I thought he was a good fit in Atlanta. I just don't know what they're going to do with Orlando Arcia, and I'm not sure.
So, like, that whole Giant situation kind of like it's all kind of molding. Like, Matt Chapman saying he's willing to play short. Adames is saying he's willing to play second. Like, it's kind of almost setting up for Arenado to go play third for the Giants.
I've heard Arenado could be moving to first potentially if he gets traded to a team because his defense has declined in recent years, and I don't think the Giants, to me, they don't make a ton of sense because Matt Chapman, he has not played shortstop in his full season in his entire big league career, and he's in his 30s now. He's one of the best defensive third basemen. I don't see in his 30s all of a sudden making a move over to shortstop. To me, that doesn't really make sense.
Yeah, your range usually doesn't go up in your 30s.
Yeah, you don't just move to shortstop. Like Mookie Betts tried it last year. He was not a good defensive shortstop when he did play there. But you can't just move to shortstop in your 30s. So I don't know where Arenado's going to end up, but I mean, we'll see, I guess. But I mean, the Yankees could be in play. I could see that possibly being a move.
I can see a situation where he plays first base, like 40% of the time, plays a little bit of third here and there, and DHs some. I mean, I can see that.
Mm-hmm.
I can see that happening. That's a couple other free agents. We talked about Blake Snell to the Dodgers. We talked about everybody to the Dodgers. I mean, everybody. Shane Bieber's back in Cleveland. He took a little bit of a pay cut, 1 year, $14 million. He's coming off injury, so I don't know how much of a choice he had there. But I'm sure there was some interest in him. And then my guy, Travis d'Arnaud, he signed with the Angels for 2 years and $12 million. I'm sad to see him go. He's a great clubhouse guy, really good catcher, good clutch hitter. So sad to see Travis d'Arnaud go from the Braves.
The Royals were heavy favorites on Bieber too. They wanted Bieber as well.
I don't think the Guardians were going to let him go in that same division. They probably would have done pretty much anything past that.
The only way he was leaving is if he got like a 3 or 4 year deal from someone, which I saw some buzz that he could get multi-year deal, but I think this was the best move for Bieber ultimately signing a.
Yeah.
And there is the club option or I think vesting option next
No,
next year.
it's a player option.
Yeah, I think it was a player
Okay,
option too. I think so.
It's a
Yeah.
player, yeah. So if he doesn't come back and pitch to his full capability this year, he can take that player option next year. It gives him that, kind of safety net.
He's got a couple of prove it years. Yeah.
But if he does come back and pitch really well this year, then he's set up next year to get a really big contract in free agency from some team. Hopefully it's Cleveland, but I don't know. We usually don't pay our starting pitchers, which it's worked out in the past. But
well, they've always made the right decision as far as like decline goes. I mean, they seem to be on top of that.
Okay,
that's another area: scouting and development, and understanding when their guys are at the end of their run. I mean, it's something the Guardians have been really good at.
While we're kind of on this topic, I wanted to ask you, Nick. Does Tristan McKenzie find his groove again this year, or is he stuck in AAA again?
Man, I mean, it's a mystery, I feel like, at this point. I think he could. He's got the stuff. He just needs to get his mechanics back intact. But
and they're going to have to figure out what's going on with his UCL.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing is that injury thing is it fully healed or no?
No, it's a completely torn UCL.
No, but he chose the route of just not getting the surgery and letting it heal over time. So he said he felt like he said last year it wasn't that he said it wasn't that he was unhealthy. It was that he couldn't get his mechanics back after being injured for so long. But it's really just I don't know what's going on with Tristan McKenzie. I hope he can come back, but I'm not expecting it. Like, I think you slide McKenzie right now into like the 5th spot, ideally, and just hope that it works out, because you can't rely on it in my opinion.
No, I agree. So
next year you can't make him like bouncing back your entire your plan.
Yeah.
To be a big part of your rotation.
I agree with you. So, okay, so let me follow up with this, Nick. Going into opening day, who would you want the Guardians' 5-man rotation to be going into next year?
Well, I mean, so I don't think it's complete right now. I think they go out and maybe sign a veteran. I saw some people like mock signing Jose Quintana to us, which I would really like a veteran like that in a 1-year deal. I think they need to add one more guy, but right now I think it's Bibee. The guy we just got from Pittsburgh yesterday, Luis Ortiz, who's a very solid pitcher. I'm sure we'll talk more about that trade here coming up soon. But
yeah, we're going to talk about it right now.
I think he's a solid pitcher. Gavin Williams is going to be in there. They brought back Ben Lively, so that's 4. And then I guess McKenzie would probably slide into that 5th spot right now. But I think they got to add one more veteran to either maybe push one of those guys maybe to the bullpen, but the injury questions with Gavin and Tristan are there. I don't think you can fully rely on those 2 guys being a part of your 5-man rotation next year.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think you're happy if you get 15, 20 starts out of both those guys.
Yeah, And Ben Lively was great just great for most of the regular season, but he really tailed off there at the end, and he doesn't have a great track record of success. Last year was really his first good year in the big league. So he's another guy that I think you can't fully. Only guys right now that I really trust in that rotation are Tristan and Ortiz.
It's funny how the Guardians rotation situation kind of so closely mirrors the Braves situation, because you've got Reynaldo Lopez, who had like a career year last year, ERA under 2 most of the season as the 5th starter, but he was, he wasn't getting consistent starts. He never did qualify. He wasn't quite ever over the league minimum to qualify for the ERA title. So he was just kind of like a every 6 or 7 days kind of a guy, right? And that ERA, by the way, that under 2 ERA was an extreme deviation from the norm for him. So you don't feel like that's where he's going to be again next year. Yeah. Charlie Morton's probably not going to be there. I don't know if the Braves offer him maybe like 1 year, $8 million or something, he might come back. But he's likely going to retire. Fried's gone. Who knows what Spencer Strider is going to be coming back from Tommy John surgery, second Tommy John surgery. It's hard to say. I mean, it's like they're both so up in the air. It's like, well, I mean, the Braves are in a situation where they could win 106 games if the rotation's there. But now Fried's gone, so now you could probably bump that down to like 98. And here are the Mets with Juan Soto. And the Guardians, you don't know what's going on with Tristan McKenzie. Will Shane Bieber be Shane Bieber when he comes back? What's going to happen with Ben Lively? Alex Cobb's gone. Not that he was ever, reliable, but he was a good veteran name, I guess.
4 games. He pitched like 4 games for us.
Yeah, but watch him make 30 starts now. You know what I mean? In Detroit and win, 15 games, and that's how it goes.
No, I'm big into like looking at pitcher stats like before and after, like UCLs, Tommy Johns, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Like that stuff's always intrigued me. And recently, pitchers, because for those of you that don't know out there, UCL and Tommy John surgeries are 2 completely different things. They're not the same. The UCL surgery is what Big Ben had in the NFL. It's where you tear the tendons off your fingers. All your fingers are connected to your elbow. And
You do
tear
this while
those-
they're awake, by the way. There's no anesthesia. This is like pure torture. This is what you get for getting hurt.
No, but
It sounds so painful.
So like Tommy John, you tear the tendon in your elbow, like right here. You tear this and it like pops. Like all the tendons are still attached to your fingers. But your UCL is you tear this and you tear tendons off your fingers. That's your UCL. So it's a completely different injury. And pitchers that have UCL injuries typically tend to come back with a mile or two faster on their fastball. So
right.
Hopefully Bieber last year was sitting 92, 93, but his stuff was still elite. Like if he's coming back this year sitting 93 to 94, like
that was kind of the thing last year. Last year, though, at the beginning of the year, he came back. He had his velocity was up because it started.
Yeah.
So it was back to what it was in his Cy Young season and early in his career because he kind of had 2 years there where his stuff wasn't the same, but he was still a good pitcher.
He had two really good starts last year.
He looked like Cy Young Shane Bieber. We thought he was back, and then another injury happened because he missed a lot of the part of the previous season with injury.
Yeah.
And now another one happened, but again, but it's so variable. I feel like with these big time elbow surgeries that have recently, like some guys come back better.
Yeah.
Some guys come back a lot worse.
So sometimes you have a chain reaction, then the shoulder goes because you throw around it or whatever. Yeah.
You don't really know. You don't really know what to expect.
Yeah. But I think.
You really don't know what to expect.
Yeah.
Speaking of not knowing what to expect, Ben, I just want you to kind of go through that trade that happened last night because at first we thought we were getting Spencer Horwitz from the Pirates, and now it turns out the Blue Jays are, sending him to where's he going? He's going
Pittsburgh.
to. I'm sorry, from the Blue Jays. I'm sorry, and now he's going to Pittsburgh. I don't see how confused I am. The trade was really confusing. Just go through that a little bit for us. Explain to us what happened last night with the Guardians trade.
So, I mean, obviously, you guys don't know. We got rid of Andres Jimenez, an elite level defender.
Yeah.
Dude has like a
platinum glove platinum glove contender. Yeah.
Dude, let alone on defense, he has a 3 WAR on defense alone. Like that's absurd.
Yeah.
And but you get rid of him, and I mean, getting rid of him frees up $90 million in cap.
Okay, but will the Dolans do anything with that money? That's the question.
Probably not. Probably not. But I mean, me and Nick talked about. I mean, you also send Nick Sandlin to the Blue Jays, which I mean, it's not a huge loss. I mean.
He's bad. I'm glad he's gone.
Yeah. You got Spencer Horwitz in return, which I mean, last year
you thought you were going to get Spencer Horwitz. The Pirates get him now.
Yeah, I mean, he played pretty well. I mean, he hit like 265. And then that same night they flipped him for 3 pitchers. I mean,
yeah,
the guy from
was it a 3-team trade or was it just like
two separate trades?
Yeah, 2 separate trades.
Because at first it got reported that it was going to be a 3-team trade. So it was confusing for a while.
2 separate trades.
Okay.
But
trying to do the research for the show last night was a nightmare. It kept changing. I'm like, wait, what? It was all different every time.
So now going into next year, right now, Nick, I don't know if you heard this or not. I told Chad before you got in. On 92.3 The Fan, Andre Knott said that Juan Brito is more than likely going to be our opening day starter at second base.
And honestly, I'm all for that. I really like Juan Brito. I think because you can't have two. Like I like this trade for the Guardians. I do. I'm a fan of it. Andres Jimenez's bat is not worth his contract. It's just not. I know he's an elite defender, but he's a bad hitter. He is bad. The past 2 years,
he was on a roll for a minute there, and then it just
one good year, 2022, and he severely outperformed his underlying metrics that year. Yeah. That's why it's like I remember watching a YouTube video from Foolish Baseball, and it was 5 players I don't like for the 2023 season, and he said Andres Jimenez was one of them because he did not believe he was the type of hitter that the numbers showed in 2022, and I was like, no, he hit 300 last year. He's going to be a great hitter for a while. Yeah. He was right. The past 2 years, his offense has fallen off a cliff, and
OPS is it's plummeted.
The contract last year, or his hitting last year, it was one of the worst hitters in baseball last season. And for a guy who next year, I believe it's only $10.5 million, and then goes up to 15, and then the last 3 years of that deal, $23 million a season. For a guy who is a bad hitter. I
think maybe they expected him to progress a little bit differently. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, when they gave it to him, it was after that monster season where he did hit well. And I loved Andres as a player. He was so fun to watch. He best defensive second baseman I've seen in my life play for the Indians Guardians. He was really fun to watch. Really seemed like a really great like a great guy. Great. Everyone loved him around the locker room. I saw Brian Roque was posting stuff about how sad he is to lose him as a teammate.
Yeah.
But to me, I think that it was fair because when you're a small market team like the Guardians, you can't spend $23 million a year on a bad hitter. You just can't.
Fair enough.
What I hope they do with that money now is extend Stephen Kwan with that instead, because he would be a guy who much deserves that extension over Jimenez. And if they're willing to invest money in Jimenez, you would think they would be willing to invest that money into another guy who I think, honestly, Chris Antonetti realized Stephen Kwan should be the guy, second highest paid player on the team, not Andres Jimenez.
Well, after you watched what he did in the playoffs, he was unbelievable.
Stephen Kwan is the second best player on our team, in my opinion, by far. He deserves that money way more than Jimenez does. So hopefully they reallocate that money over to
Andres, that's fair.
Over to Stephen Kwan.
Yeah, so Nick, so do you think the Guardians get rid of Naylor then, or you think they keep him?
I honestly,
he's due $12 million this year.
After the playoffs, I said I kind of wanted Naylor gone because
there's like a lot of steam for him to go to the Cubs, man. There's a lot of
he made me so mad in the playoffs.
Dude, he chased everything out of the zone.
He's gotten completely out of shape at this point.
He had a couple of at-bats where he looked like he was locked in, but everything else, it just looked like he was always expecting.
When he's in his zone, he's one of the best hitters in baseball. He's extremely streaky. He has his runs where he's one of the best hitters in baseball, and then he has runs where he chases every single pitch out of the strike zone. It doesn't matter where you throw it.
Sometimes though, man, he's really streaky, and a lot of guys are streaky. I get that.
Mm-hmm. But I told you
when it happens at the worst time.
I told in big moments in the playoffs, though, he would come up, multiple guys on base, and he would chase a pitch a million miles out of the zone and just completely deflate the momentum that we had in the rally. So I think I would be okay with trading Naylor, but I don't think it's like I'm not going to say we should, because if we have Naylor and Manzardo for first base DH right now, and Kyle Manzardo needs to play every day last year. He showed a lot down the stretch last year. He's a really good hitter. I would be okay with giving him the keys at first base for the future. But I think you can have both those guys, but I also don't think we should extend Naylor, though. So
while we're on this, let me ask you, Nick. Naylor's a guy that plays with. I mean, he plays with his. He wears his emotions on his sleeves, right? Like, you know exactly what he's thinking at all times. Mm-hmm. Is that maybe a little bit too much in the playoffs? Like, sometimes you have to kind of play with that controlled passion. You can't go out there reckless abandon and kind of, in baseball that doesn't work like it does in football or another sport. You know what I mean? I think you have to play more within yourself. Do you think that emotion is a little bit too much in October?
I think it's fine. It's just it's fine. He just needs to calm down when he's at the plate. You can celebrate all you want after you hit a double. If you hit a double, you can celebrate all you want. You can rock the baby, do the stuff he does. I love his passion. It's just he needs to tame it in the moment. I think
that's what I mean. Yeah, that's exactly what I mean.
Yeah.
Well, I think it depends. The trade depends on what they get back. They've got Nick Mitchell, Josh Hartle, Luis Ortiz, Michael Kennedy. We don't have time to break down each one of these guys. I do want to move on. We've got just a few minutes left because I have to go get my kids from school. Well, at least my one kid from school, because Sal stayed home today. I got to get my daughter from school. I did want to mention that Tom Hamilton was named as the 2025 Ford C. Frick Award winner. He'll be celebrated in July as part of the Hall of Fame weekend in Cooperstown. Awesome for Tom Hamilton. He's deserved that for, I feel like, I don't know, a long time now. So good for Tom Hamilton. Congratulations to him. But real quick, guys, I want to talk about the first ever 12-team college football playoff. Okay. And I'm going to put the graphic up here real quick while we talk about it. It's been fun to think about, like, the first ever December night playoff game at Ohio Stadium, right? Like in the Horseshoe. It's awesome. They'll take on Tennessee. But I'm also worried because Tennessee is a really similar team to Michigan schematically.
I was just going to say, sorry to burst everybody's bubble. Tennessee beats Ohio State in the shoe.
I hate to think about it, man, but listen, they're going to use the same blueprint that Michigan did.
Oh, for sure.
Who's to say that we're not going to see 47 halfback dives? Like,
I was just going to say, Chip Kelly's going to call halfback dive 27 times in the second half and think it's going to work.
Oh, it's frustrating. You see the rest of the field. If they do beat Tennessee, they'll move on to play Oregon. You saw what Oregon kind of did with Penn State. I mean, Penn State surprised me in that game, to be honest with you. They hung with Oregon a little better than I thought they would. The other side of the bracket down there, you've got Clemson at Texas. The winner goes on to play Arizona State. Dude, how about did anybody expect Arizona State to be here? This is awesome.
I did not, but I was going to say, you look at these two sides of the bracket. On the left side, you got all the blue bloods of college football, except for Arizona State. And then you look on the right side, and you got like teams that like nobody would expect to be here besides Georgia.
Yeah, I mean, well,
Like-
Notre Dame maybe, but yeah, you got
Notre Dame maybe,
Indiana,
but, like-
Boise State, SMU. How about SMU getting in?
Yeah,
That's,
but like
that's
you
kinda
expect
wild.
Penn State to go like 8-4. Instead, they're a 4 seed
Yeah,
or 6 seed. I
6 seed,
guess.
yeah, taking on SMU. It'll be fun to see. I mean, my gosh, man, playoff football in Ohio Stadium, right? In Texas, I can't remember what their stadium's called. In South Bend, right, in Notre Dame, and then over at Beaver State. I mean, it's going to be wild. And Penn State's already said they're going to have a whiteout. But yeah, you can kind of see the bracket there, and we can. I just want to kind of get into you guys or get into it with you guys. Oh, Ben's gone. He fell over. Should have had a V8. There he is. Should have told him the graphic was going away. Probably. That's good production work on my part. But yeah, we talked about it a little bit. I think with Tennessee, they're going to use that same kind of like schematic look that Michigan used. If they're smart, they will. Can the Buckeyes really move the ball against Tennessee in cold weather? I mean, it's not like the Buckeyes are really built for. I mean, everybody says, "Oh, come up to Columbus and play in December." The Buckeyes aren't built like that.
I'll say what I said to all my friends.
Okay.
If it's not windy, yes, the Buckeyes can.
Okay.
But if they use the same excuse they used against Michigan, where they say, "Oh, it was windy, so it limited our ability to throw the football,"
It's not wind. I don't think it's wind. Don't you think it's a quarterback trust issue right now?
Ohio State has absolutely no shot of winning this football game.
Okay.
If it comes down to
grinding it out on the ground. Yeah.
Yeah,
I agree.
they have no shot of winning. The only chance they have is if you have the ability to throw the ball all over the yard.
Agreed. I agree. Nick, if Ohio State loses this game, what does your gut say? Is Ryan Day gone, or does he get one more chance next season? I just remember the buyout for him is $38 million.
Yeah.
Just know that.
Mm-hmm. So my stance since the Michigan game happened has been, if Ryan Day doesn't win the national championship, I think we should fire him.
Okay.
I mean, and I've been as down on the program. I've been as down on the program as I've ever been the past couple weeks since that game.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I still think that they can make a decent run in this playoff. I do, because if they use their offensive strengths, they have, like when we threw the ball at that end of the first half drive against Michigan, we were
went so well
straight down the field.
Yeah.
Straight down the field.
Yep.
Same thing on the first drive of the game, throwing the ball to Carnell Tate and moving the ball right down the field. Then for whatever reason, I've heard this theory a lot. I kind of believe it, that against Michigan, they changed their game plan. They want to show that they're physical and can, because Ryan Day's heard it from everybody. Oh, your teams aren't physical. Your teams can't out.
He's got to let that personal stuff go and just win the football game.
But he did that the whole season except for against Michigan.
Yeah.
Against Michigan, he tried. So I think against a different opponent, the offense might look a little different. They have to be more air heavy. They have to be air heavy.
You
have to remember that you have Emeka Egbuka and Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate on your team. I mean,
exactly.
You lost the best receiving core in the country.
Yeah.
A year prior, and you returned the best receiving core in the country the year after.
Yeah.
The bottom line with Ohio State is like they still have the talent to beat any team in the country. They lost by 1 point on the road against the number one team in the country, Oregon. So you can't tell me that if they get Oregon again at a neutral site, that there's not at least a chance they can win that game. Of
course there is. It matters which team shows up, and it matters which coaching staff shows up. You know,
it really, this playoff run is going to pretty much tell you everything you need to know, though, about the future of this program. Because if they can get galvanized after that loss to Michigan and be like, okay, no, we're mad. We can't let this happen. We got to save our coach's job. We got to go do this. Now's the time to do it. Let's go win a national title, or at least make a deep run.
Yes.
I think it's still possible that they win 1 or 2 playoff games.
Yeah.
I just don't trust Ryan Day to win 4 straight right now.
I think if they get on a roll, it's possible. I think if they beat Tennessee and then they go beat Oregon, I think anything can happen, right? Yeah. Well, obviously, anything can happen.
And I want to say this. I mean, you look at who our play caller is in Chip Kelly, right? What is Chip Kelly known for? Being one of the most creative play callers in college football.
Yeah.
I've said this to anybody. If we have any chance of beating Tennessee, Chip Kelly's going to have to dive deep into his bag and come up with some kind of trickery.
It's almost like you guys start throwing the dartboard or throwing the dart at the dartboard. Just just run whatever play it hit.
Or just don't run half that dive 50 times.
Yeah. But even here's the thing.
And then the long pass over to the boundary, like from one hash to the sideline where it's like, I love it. It just gives the defense a great chance to get going in the game. Like, okay, well, we see the ball going all the way across the field. We can surround it with 7 guys.
I saw a play that Texas ran, and I was like, this looks like a Chip Kelly ran play. It's the running back. You fake a handoff to the running back. You have the slot guy comes in motion. You fake the pitch to him.
Yeah.
And then the outside receiver comes behind him and you pitch it to him and he took off for like 20 yards.
You could run that with Jeremiah Smith all day.
Exactly.
Or Ibuka. Is
Exactly.
a great,
Or Chad, remember earlier in the year we talked about Caleb Downs playing halfback, right?
Yeah.
He
returned mix it up and put Quinshawn Judkins or Travion Henderson out there in the slot and run the play.
Yeah, but hear me out, right? He returned a punt for a touchdown, right? So even if you're gonna throw a wrinkle at him.
He also had a rough game against Michigan, though, special teams wise. He really did.
No, he did. But even if you throw a wrinkle at him and you put Caleb Downs on offense, you're like, okay, wait, we haven't seen this all year. What's going on here?
Yeah.
They're going to be focused on Caleb Downs, and that leaves one guy that something else they got to worry about.
Ryan Day won't do that. They won't. Chip Kelly and Ryan Day won't do that. They go so white knuckle. It's like they're afraid.
That's what I'm saying, though.
Upset the boosters or something in these big games, you know?
I'm telling you, Ryan Day's trying to show everyone that he's not soft. He's trying to show, oh no, we can just pound the ball up the middle.
That's much for Ryan Day to prove that he's not soft by sticking to his resolve and doing what his team does and making that work.
Like just win the game. Don't try and win it a specific way.
Who cares what Lou Holtz thinks? Who cares? Yes. It's wild. Who cares what Lou Holtz thinks? He's 150 years old. Doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Dude,
he doesn't even remember coaching Notre Dame. Who cares? Listen, real quick, guys, we got to get out of here because my kid's going to yell at me if I'm late. But listen, score prediction, real quick. I'll go across the board. Nick, Ohio State, Tennessee, what do you got?
I'm going to go Ohio State 27, Tennessee 21.
Okay. Ben, what do you got? Don't say 3-2.
Okay, 4-2.
Safe.
No, I'm gonna say Ohio State. I'm gonna say Ohio State 16. I'm gonna say Illinois. I'm gonna say Tennessee. I'm gonna say Tennessee 15. I think it'll be a low scoring game.
Okay, Nick, we're on the same page. We were thinking the same game. I have 27-23 Ohio State. I think they figured it out. I don't know what's going to happen against Oregon. We'll see how they look against Tennessee. Yeah. We didn't have time to get to the Browns. They're bad at football. We didn't have time to get to the Cavs. They're good at basketball. That's really all we have for this show. Nick, thanks so much for being back on, man. We're going to have you on more than once every 8 months. I promise, man.
Okay.
We'll have you back. It'll probably be after the new year. I mean, next week is the last episode of the year. I don't know what we've got planned for that one. It'll be a Christmas extravaganza. That sounds like they won't be singing. That sounded like they were going to be. There's no singing. I promise. Unless Ben wants to sing.
No, I'm good.
He's good. Okay, no singing on that show.
Good. I don't think anybody wants to hear that.
Yeah, you guys join us next week. For the Christmas show, we'll talk about some Christmassy stuff or whatever, and we'll probably get into more playoff football. And we'll talk more about
Steelers are beating the Chiefs.
So, maybe. So listen, I'm supposed to go to the Browns Chiefs game this weekend. We'll see what happens with the weather, but maybe I'll have a report on what it looks like up close. It probably won't be good.
I guarantee you it's going to be a close game. Every Chiefs game is a close game.
Oh, yeah. I'll watch the referees closely for you guys, okay? I'll see what they do all game. We'll see what the deal is.
Please do. Because they missed 3 false starts and a blindside block against the Chargers.
Fair enough. Hey, guys, listen, thanks for watching. Again, Nick, thanks so much for being on. We'll have you back soon, and we'll do this again. We'll talk some more baseball stuff. We'll talk some more college football. I'll tell you what, we'll keep having you back on throughout as the playoffs progress, hopefully as Ohio State keeps going. And we'll keep revisiting some of this stuff. Until then, see you guys next week, and just stay warm out there. All right, bye, guys.